Boom, we're live. Jesse, finally, welcome to the show.
We did it. We were talking before off camera how this has been 5 years in the making. This has taken longer than it took the Titanic to be.
Damn, Titanic? That's rough. Yeah, Jesse blew me off for 2 years, but never give up, guys. Never fucking give up.
No, you can't give up. You always have to keep trying. You're saying that. It was like that Lady Gaga saying, there could be 100 people in the room. She said that over and over on her press junket for, is it Shallow? Was that the movie with her and
Bradley
Cooper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to say, oh, caught in a bad romance. But, you know, that works too.
Hey, look, there's a lot of Gaga fans that'll really appreciate that rendition that just came out of you. Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa. So
It's a bad romance.
Oh, is this featuring Skrillex? Yeah. No, I don't have too many Hot Topic fans, so maybe not. But yeah, guys, never give up. Because if you don't give up, unless you die, then you always got a chance.
Absolutely. You got to keep on trucking. There's always going to be some opportunity, and that comes from your own effort. You know, that's definitely something that I have had in my mind ever since I was like, that I can remember. Never giving up. There was no plan B ever for me.
Ever.
There was never a plan B. It was always, this is what I was going to do. And if there's a no, that's just a rock in the river and just move around it. It's like Bruce Lee. You got to be like water. Move around that river bend.
Be like water, but not in water. Because that could be like kind of difficult to get through.
Well, I think we're all in water in some way. You're essentially in water your whole life. It's just varying degrees of the type of water. Sometimes you're chilling on a river. It's like a nice, slow, beautiful day. You're in an inner tube, chilling, the sun's shining. Next thing you know, there's rapids ahead and you don't have any oars. And it seems like that's the scariest part. No, it's not good. But when you get through it, you learn that was the best part of your life. The raging waters is where the magic of life lies in my mind.
And you start in water.
Absolutely. In the womb. You start aquatic. We all started aquatic.
That's why if you're going through some stressful times or you have extreme anxiety, just go in the hot tub. Go take a hot shower because it mimics your mother's womb in a weird biohacking way.
Or if your mother's kind, you just crawl right back up inside her womb. She shouldn't be so selfish to shut it down.
Yeah.
I'm here to cancel mothers shutting their wombs down. This is what my platform.
Yeah. Why aren't we more like kangaroos? Shoot that fucker right back in there.
Come on. Where's the adult kangaroo outfit? I want to crawl back inside the hole.
Yeah, exactly. We need Baby Yoda on the back. What's going on here?
Come on.
Why is that? Why do kangaroos have a sack? What's the whole point of that? Like the motherfucker can jump around and kick and stuff and play in Kangaroo Jack movies. Why does it need to be like hanging on to its mom? Imagine like you just jumped on your mom's back and she just walked around the grocery store with you.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. And it sounds delightful. It sounds like a great day. I want to go down the cereal aisle like that. I want to relive my childhood and walk down the cereal aisle.
And that's when people will be like, yeah, and that's why pharmaceuticals were invented.
Absolutely. I mean, isn't cereal the first pharmaceutical that we ever got?
It's possible. It's possible. Count Chocula, was that your favorite? Oh my God.
You know, it really depended on the day. Your parents are smart. I really just had this conversation with my cousin. I said, I think all of our anxiety issues are due to the fact that we just ate chemicals in various shapes and flavors as children, from a bologna and cheese sandwich on white bread to the cereal we had. That was our meal. That was what we ate. There was no whole foods. It was just whole chemicals in the shapes and flavors of foods. But I love the cereal aisle. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I will punch a bitch. Can I say bitch? For some cereal. Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I used to kill that in middle school.
Captain Crunch.
Ooh, I used to come home, eat a big giant bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Yeah. And then you wonder why
sleep for 8 hours. And fail math.
Couldn't focus on anything except for porn and video games. That's about it. It's the only thing you can focus on when you're eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
It's so crazy.
Constantly stimulated.
Yeah, it's wild how we I think about the things that humans do. We look back on and we think, what were they thinking? Like smoking in restaurants and smoking in hospitals, basically cigarettes. I look back, and a lot of people look back and we're like, that was the dumbest thing we ever did. And I always wonder what it is today. And I think it might be cell phones. I truly might think it might be cell phones. But nutrition is another one where you think about what you were fed as a child, and then look at all of the adult issues that have arisen from that. ADD, ADHD, autism,
ADD3Q.
Yeah. Dementia, all these things. There's links to, it being somewhat connected and correlated to inflammation, and the diet we had was highly inflammatory.
Yeah, I would agree. I think once you get that in check, this is like my Tim Ferriss, like biohacking, meta learning side coming in, not the joking side. But once you get the diet in check, like almost, and I would even throw in like meditation, and you could supplement with some things, but like really meditation and more eliminating the bad shit versus just implementing more stuff. I've found that it's not really, for me, it's not cell phones, it's not technology. If you as a person, as the host, are like put together and you're like a well-oiled machine, you can use all this, you can use all that for tools. And I personally think social media and the cell phone is amazing, because guess what? Me and you wouldn't be talking if there wasn't any Instagram or cell phone. The amount of growth, like we're only here for so long, right? And the amount of growth that is possible for us as Homo sapiens is you can only do so much. You only have so much time, and then you die, right? And then you really only have 40 years, 50 years of solid years, and then your body starts to disintegrate and break down. So I've found in my personal life that it's really not that people say technology, air pollution, all the other stuff. And yeah, for sure, that might play a contributing part. But if you have your diet in right, and then you have some type of like mindfulness practice, like meditation, and you just do it, even if you think it's getting nowhere, because you will think that the first like couple weeks, possibly even couple months, you're like, why am I doing this? You'll realize that you can use all these things as a tool, and you're the problem. It's not the cell phone. It's not Mark Zuckerberg. It's you. So yeah, take that for a grain of salt.
No, I agree. It's your mentality. Whatever story you tell yourself is how you're going to live out in the world and what you put out. And it's definitely your approach to everything. And I agree with the meditation. I discovered the value of it when I was going through losing my mom and dealing with that grief. I needed something. I needed a strategy and a structure, because my mother was my last living parent, and I felt completely untethered. And so I wanted something to grab onto, and what I grabbed onto was a routine. It was discipline. It was consistency for myself. It was waking up, meditating first thing, eating right, reading, journaling, and exercising. And I've been doing that 6 to 7 days a week for a couple years now, and everything else changed because of that. And it's not easy. I mean, I'm saying it like, oh yeah, just pick up 5 new things and do it every single day. But you start small, and once you achieve one habit and acquiring a new habit, the other ones become easier to implement into your system. But you do have to start small. I think in this society, we get so grandiose with the things we want to accomplish. Sometimes we psych ourselves out because we set goals that are high, which are good to do. But then the strategy we take in order to achieve those goals sometimes is way too difficult, or we're not achieving the more incremental part of it. So then we just go, I'll be able to do this. So I think it's important to implement anything into a system on a smaller base, for me at least.
Yeah, I think implementing small things one at a time. It's kind of like playing golf. I started playing golf recently, the past couple months, and you go out there and they're like, keep your arms straight, move your hips, move this, move that. It's so mechanical, right?
Yeah.
And you can never do everything at once. So it's gotten to the point where if you try to do everything at once, you don't really get anywhere as far as like progress. So then my theory was, going back to the whole meta learning and breaking stuff down, like the Tim Ferriss style, is I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to focus every time, because I have a golf trainer, every Saturday morning, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to focus on one thing. And I'm just going to practice that one thing. I'm not going to think about my hips. I'm not going to think about my head. I'm just going to focus on one thing, keep my arm as straight as possible. I'm just going to do that for 2 days. And then next week, I'm going to focus solely on my hips, and then do that. And then eventually everything just becomes one big cohesive unit. And it's the same thing with your life, same thing with your business, same thing with your relationships. In my experience is, once you're not going to do everything at once. You're not going to wake up one morning and speak Mandarin Chinese. But if you every day put in the work, chip away, within a couple of years, you'll see a drastic difference in your life versus someone that maybe was at the same starting line or in the same position that you were, and now you're so far ahead of them. It's kind of like the kid that plays Little League, and he might not suck, but he's not the best kid. And then you got the one kid that's so good that he doesn't feel like he has to practice. And then you get into high school and it's not even close. The kid that used to suck is like actually really good because he put in the effort, because it didn't come naturally to him, versus the kid that had the natural talent now is, he's not bad, but he's average. So sometimes being really good at things just off the bat is a curse. I've had to deal with that because I tend to be like somewhat decent at things starting off. I'm a very fast learner. And that's, in sports and wrestling and baseball, I would catch on right away. I would play people in video games and beat them right away at Halo, and beat them right away at Call of Duty and Madden. And these kids would get so mad because they play all day and I never played the game. I played them once or twice and I would beat them. I literally, people would try to fight me because of it. Like these diehards, especially the gamers. And I think that was kind of a curse.
What are you doing, bro? This is not even right.
It was a chick.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It was this anime chick. We played this
Future's
game.
female.
Yeah, for sure. She was like this anime chick, which shout out to anime. But we played this game. The exact game, if people are interested, it was Marvel versus Capcom 3, and it was basically like this super anime nerdy game, right? And it was a cool game, whatever, 2-on-2 or 2v2, whatever the hell they call it. And I just picked this cheap character and I did this cheap move where he's like, ha, ha, ha. And I just backed her in a corner and I was just blasting her, pa, pa, pa. And we love backing in corners and blasting. And then we kept doing that. And then she couldn't move and she fucking threw the controller and it's like, I'm going to sleep. And I was like, Jesus Christ. But anyways, my point is that sometimes it's a curse to be naturally good at things. And because you don't learn that hard work, you don't. It's kind of like a girl that's super hot her whole life. Like high school, she was the hottest girl. Everyone's praising her, and then you talk to her, and it's like nothing. It's like she's waiting for compliments. It's like, do you know anything? Do you know can we talk about anything besides you went to the Maldives and you're going to Bali next week? You don't have anything.
Great. Not gonna lie, that shit sounds like a great life. I'm not gonna fucking lie.
Shout out to the Maldives. Chicks that only talk about the Maldives.
Shout out to the hot influencers in Maldives. You annoy us, but we're inspired at the same time. We truly are influenced by you. No, I know what you say. I know what you're saying.
You wouldn't want that though.
I love that you're like, I'm so good at things. It's so hard.
It's so hard being the best at everything. Ha!
I love that you're complaining at being talented. You're like, guys, it's so exhausting being this talented. I can't tell you how hard it is.
Oh my God. I didn't mean it like that. That's why I kind of tried to downplay
with you. That's why you probably wanted me to have me on your podcast, because I'm a ball buster. No, It's interesting. What I'm hearing through you talking about that is struggle. Even though you have a natural talent, the struggle is where the true understanding of any task or something that you need to overcome is where the real value is. There's such value in struggle. And when you're talking about this, fictionary girl who goes to the Maldives and she's so attractive, I attribute that sort of mentality and that outlook on life as someone who hasn't struggled. It's the same way that a predator can pinpoint weak prey. I have this uncanny ability to identify someone who hasn't struggled. And on the other hand, can connect on a deep level with someone who has. And that's just my magic.
Right?
What's that?
It's like I would consider you an expert in comedy. I don't know shit about comedy. I go to comedy. I love comedy. I watch all the comedy specials on whatever channel they're streaming on, but I don't know the actual scientific breakdown of comedy, right? If there is even one, which I'm sure there's a scientific breakdown of everything, but I'm sure you've seen someone maybe that didn't crush right out of the gate, but they were naturally funny. And then you had someone that was like not funny at all, but they put in the work. And then 2 years down the line, you're like, holy shit, like this person that was like kind of like a dry biscuit now is like actually really funny. Shout out to
a dry biscuit, not a dry biscuit. Oh my gosh, I need a glass of water. It is interesting. Consistency is the mastery. You know, art is the creation and the consistency is the mastery. And it's so true. You can only get by so much on talent. You can only get by so much on that. And, you know, the other aspect that I'm hearing is your talent. You are so talented, but you have to take yourself that extra step further because your talent will make you achieve.
What set me back though, because I relied on that natural talent. And then when shit got hard, I met people that were better than me. Then I'm like,
less talented.
I haven't put in the work.
Yeah, you got to put in that consistent time. Yeah. That's where that's what differentiates people who succeed and those who just fall to the wayside. You know, it's talent will only take you so far. You have to have that ambition, and the consistency is what makes up that ambition. That's like the most important recipe. Yeah. And you can get caught up though, you know, especially in the entertainment industry, there's such a comparison, like detriment that's happening. You can lose yourself comparing yourself to other people, and you really have to stay focused. I've really started to not look at what other people are doing so much because I find that it's distracting. And we never really had this sort of POV that we have today where, and even going back to what you're saying about your mindset and sort of how you look at things dictates everything. There still is a part of human beings where we look at something and we can start to compare ourselves and start to feel like, oh, am I doing enough? Why am I not achieving this? And why is this person achieving that? So I have had to really put focus for myself and sort of horse blinders around what I want to accomplish and really taking away the distractions. Because not only is being consistent an important part of achieving your goals, the distractions are the kryptonite to success. Truly. That's where this thing comes in and can be a very, very difficult challenge in front of you achieving something.
Yeah. And let's stay on comedy, right? Like with comedy, no, you're the expert. I'm not. But tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's just being consistent, because how many people have been doing comedy since the 80s and they still suck? They're still extra dry biscuits from Popeyes. You know, I think that.
Are they a sponsor? Please send us some money.
Shout out to Dry Biscuits. Promo code Jessimae.
Dry Biscuits will not be at Coachella this year.
The Dry Biscuits. That's a great band name.
It's a great band name.
Shout out to the Dry Biscuits. There goes. I'm going to start a Japanese rock band. But my thing is, do they have biscuits in Japan? We don't know.
Yeah. For sure.
Anyways, but
they're mochi.
Really good actually. But side note, my point is with comedy, there's been people that have been doing it since the 90s, I'm sure, that you know personally that still kind of suck, right? And then you have someone that's been doing comedy for 10 years and they're amazing. Like, just name the greats. Like well, maybe not 10 years. They've been doing it longer than that. But everyone that everybody knows, right, in the comedy space, they've been doing it for a long time, but they're amazing, the top tier ones. But there's also been people doing comedy the exact same amount of time that still suck, right? So it's not just showing up. Sometimes you actually have to have skills, right? Like, skills pays the bills. You have to have skills. So I don't think just mindlessly doing reps, as important as reps are to the situation, it's a multifactorial situation. I think the reps part is important, but you have to be very optimistic and do stuff like film yourself and break it down, because if you're just mindlessly putting in reps, that's when you start picking up bad habits. And that's probably something that people do in comedy all the time.
They do. I just had this conversation last night. I was driving to a gig and we were talking about knowing and noticing the difference when we're watching comedians, someone who is weathered but hasn't been putting in the reps going up versus someone who's new but has been putting in the reps and goes up. Comedy is a very interesting thing where sometimes you can get lapped by somebody with less experience and less talent just because they show up, just because they do the reps. And I attribute it to complacency. complacency is also a real kryptonite for success. And that's something that happens with these older comics where they've just, if something works, why change it?
Yeah.
If your jokes have been working for 20 years, why would you change them? And so you've got this experienced comedian who is very talented, who's put in the reps, but is complacent, versus this young, hungry, new comic who will do anything to get any set. Someone's going to be more entertaining. They may not be more talented, but for that moment in time, for that audience, the talent scale doesn't fucking matter. They're there to be entertained. Oh, you not entertained. Like, you have to fucking entertain these people. And I've seen it happen. I've done it myself where I go up and I'm like, oh, well, I don't know, whatever, I've got this. And then someone else comes up and just sweeps the house. You can't get lazy. You cannot get lazy. You have to, even though you can rely on skills you've acquired from a 20-year career, your lack of consistency and your surplus of complacency will be the thing that makes you fall. So you have to find and keep stoking your own fire. And the irony of that is us, before talking about struggles and being humbled by life and loss, for me, have been the things that have fueled my fire and have kept my soul lit up. And it's not like through all these traumatic experiences, it's a muse for me. There's a time where you have to process everything, but there really is a great well of experience within those struggles that can make way to some amazing art and creating a piece of work that other people can connect with. So I say all that to say that I've seen it go both ways with someone who's consistent and someone who's not, regardless of the level of talent. And I've seen it, hurt and hinder someone's performance. So yeah, make sure you sleep well and eat clean and get those reps in.
And no dry biscuits. So
no dry biscuits.
Very high in calories. You'd be surprised. When a comic is looking and observing other comedians, right? Like kind of you're at the zoo and you're like, oh, wow, look at the zebras. When you're looking at the comedians and you're observing, do you kind of do like an analytical, like, ooh, they should have pulled back here, they should have pushed forward? Or do you kind of look at comedy like a consumer and just enjoy the show? Because I feel like for me, if I was a comic, literally anything I do when I'm watching someone that's doing the same thing, then I'll go, okay, I'll be like, oh, wow, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. And I look at it from like an analytical view. So, what do
I'm
you
naturally
think
analytical
about that?
I'm very analytical.
Okay.
And if it's a friend of mine, I'll be in the moment and enjoy it. And if I have tags or stuff, I'll say, hey, do you want some tags? I thought of this because I know them and it might be something they'd like to use. If it's someone I admire and maybe haven't met and don't know, I'll sit and be in the middle of a fan and someone who's watching it from an artistic standpoint and taking notes in my mind, like, oh, that's an interesting choice. They could have done this a little differently. But it's very rare that I sit in an audience ever to watch comedy, first of all. But if I'm ever there, it's very rare that I'm there just enjoying the moment because it's what I do. So I naturally am analytical and thinking about ways to improve it because that's what I do with my own stand up. And I'm always thinking of what could have been better. I'm just trying to be better than I was the last time. I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. It doesn't matter. That's so irrelevant. So when I'm watching comedy, it definitely is from an analytical standpoint. And there's so much technicality. Like you talk about golf. With comedy, it's like you don't want to be too loud. It's very technical, and there's a lot of mathematics to it. There's a lot of, choreography to it, from how loud you are to how you hold the microphone to what you're wearing. I don't know why these fucking comedians put things in their pockets. Why do you have so much shit in your pockets? I should be able to see the outline of your phone. Why are your keys jingling?
Yeah.
You dudes, just get a fucking purse and leave it in the green room.
Or a satchel.
I'm so focused on the fucking snack bag you have in your back pocket. I'm not listening to you. But maybe an audience member isn't thinking that. I'm thinking of all the things you could do to make it better.
Right. Or if you're a dude and you're freaking hanging low, wear tight pants, and then everyone's looking at that.
I've seen a couple
Not
bulges,
bad.
and I'm like, okay, sir, we don't need
Not
to
a
see your
bad
dick print on
strategy.
stage. No,
Like,
thank you.
bad for your career, but not bad for the night.
Brutal. The brutal bulge, we'll call it.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't ever watch, like, you don't ever just go out there and, I don't know, like what the layouts of the, the comedy clubs that you go to, but where there's kind of like a bar or something, you just sit in the back and just kind of watch, especially if, someone's coming on, like someone's opening for you. You're not, I mean, obviously you're in the back with the green room hanging out, but, maybe
sometimes
maybe like the Comedy Store or something like that out in LA, where it's more of, it's not like it's like a normal thing. I don't know if you guys still go to the Comedy Store, but like back when I lived in LA,
yeah,
that was like the thing. I used to go all the time, and it was like more of like a hang, and I saw some of the comics and talked to some of them. But yeah, you weren't like sitting down like a consumer, like, okay,
No, I used to a lot more. I'm
But
doing
now
so much
Jesse's
now.
made it. She's made it. She's
still,
like, I ain't sitting with those peasants, dog. Come on,
I
dog. I ain't sitting with those peasants.
I'll always be a student. I always want to learn. I always want to learn. I always want to gain more knowledge and keep myself curious. But it's not like every night I'm sitting and watching. I also am cognizant of the fact that we can absorb a lot. Mm-hmm. And so for that fact alone, I kind of keep a space, just a nice enough of a buffer between myself and watching other people's sets, like sitting down to watch them type of approach. Because naturally, it happens. It's like tribal mindset. When you start to hang around a bunch of group of people, you all start to sound the same and mimic each other, and your body language is similar. So I try to maintain my individuality and autonomy in a sense by creating some space between myself and being a student of comedy. There's different ways to be a student of comedy. So, but I have done that. I mean, I there's so many of my friends who are so funny that I will go into the showroom to watch every single time and have a, laugh at their expense.
Hell yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I could totally see you picking up like other people's stuff on accident. You're like, oh shit, did I make that?
Everyone does.
Did I hear that? Yeah.
Everyone does. You can see in every set, if you have as much of a catalog of comedy as I have in my head, you go, oh, that's Burr-esque. That sounds like something Rogan would say. That literally sounds like Dave Chappelle's voice. Like it's all art is borrowed or stolen.
For sure.
There's anyone who's like, I created this. Okay. You weren't influenced at all. You didn't watch hours of somebody else's stand-up. It's all influenced.
You have to with anything. The biggest thing is YouTube. Like if you want to get good at anything, number one is watch experts. And if you're lucky, if it's a popular thing, watch experts break stuff down. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your comedy process? Well, first let's talk about, how did you even get in comedy? You're from Jersey, right?
Syracuse, which is the Jersey of upstate New York.
Yeah, it very much is. So I was born in Jersey, and then my dad was from New York, and my mom was from Jersey. So now I live in Florida, but I lived in Florida my whole life.
From Jersey to New York to Florida. That's the right trajectory.
Shout out to Jersey, and shout out to Tampa. Which by the way, you got to come down here to the Improv. I know it's in Ybor.
I love that club.
It's very weird. It's very weird, but you got the high. Yeah. And oh my God, I'll listen to Rogan and he'll talk. And anytime Tampa gets brought up, I'm like, please don't talk about Ybor. Please don't talk about Ybor. And I'm like, oh yeah, Ybor City. And I'm like, oh no, Joe, why the hell did you say that? Now everyone that listens to your show is going to think Tampa's Ybor, and it's literally not. It's like this small section. It's very, very close to my condo. It's like literally down the street. But it's just like, man, why would you bring up Ybor? There's so many nice, elegant places. And
because that's where we go. We don't go anywhere else. We don't get to go to the nice, elegant places. We play Ybor City where there's chickens in the street.
People licking shoes.
It feels like a city that like a rich meth head created. They're like, we're gonna have street cocks in a comedy club. Okay, everybody come down and hang out. God. It's actually a cool little hang. I love that club. It's weird. It feels like a like some sort of
I saw a shop
vaudeville
there.
theater.
I saw Brandon Schaub there like 3 years ago. Yeah. And he said, he's like, you look like Baker Mayfield. And I was like, thanks, bro.
I don't know who that is.
look
I'm not going to pretend.
No,
I do.
he's like a football player. He's just a white dude with a beard.
I wouldn't know that person. If he walked in my house, I wouldn't know who he was. I'd be like, excuse me, large man with the football in your hand. Could you exit the premises?
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's a quarterback, so he's not that big, right? But Ybor is like a very strange place. But then Rogan, he just did Amalie Arena where the Lightning played downtown, which is a nice area, and so that's probably where he caught COVID. But he did that area, and I went to the show, and I was like, okay, finally, hopefully now if somebody brings up Tampa on Rogan, that he'll be like, oh yeah, Tampa's actually pretty cool. So, but Tampa, I kind of actually like Tampa being underground. Tom Brady kind of blew us up over here, but Tampa's like an underground.
Yeah, Tampa's got some stuff going on. You guys definitely have your own little culture and vibe for sure out of the places in Florida, because Florida, a Florida man does not make you guys look good.
Yeah, but that's like Jacksonville, Gainesville. Those are like those backward swamp people.
Exactly. And people just assume it's all in one place.
Yeah, Florida's, it's like, have you been to Gainesville and then Miami? Big difference.
Different night and day.
Might as well be a different country. Might as well be.
Yeah, seriously. Florida, I always say this. I think it would be good if Florida just snapped off and became like a flotilla state that you had to like boat to.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you just had to like get a passport to get to Florida because it's its own floating island state. That's what you guys need.
The next time you do a show at the Improv, I'm sitting front row and I want you to roast me. Like, look at this fucking idiot.
Because you want me to, I won't. I only roast people who aren't expecting it. So now that I know you want it, you're not going to get it. See, you showed me your cards.
Should I heckle?
Caviar? No, you can't do that. It's terrible.
I would never do that.
Can't do that.
I would never do that. That's so fucked up. It's like somebody like barging in here. You're like, hey guys, what are you guys doing? I'm like, what the fuck? I'm recording a show. But I get it. They're drunk. They're feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it. They're drunk. They're feeling good. It's their night out. They got a babysitter, all that shit. So I totally understand that, people could do it. I still wouldn't do it, obviously. And I think it's extremely rude. But it doesn't surprise me that people do it, especially in that environment of having fun with alcohol and probably other stuff.
And sometimes comedians are conversational, and you just have to know where to draw the line. A lot of the times it's people who want attention and who are hurting and their relationships are falling apart and they want to like unleash their energy onto someone who's commanding attention because they're lacking attention in their life, and it becomes this weird projection. That's what I've experienced a lot, and I'll often break it down that way, and then they're dead silent because I hit the nail right on the emotional head. It's like, okay, bitch, I used to be you. You just gotta chill out.
Also, like, and I know they're intoxicated, but do you really think you're going to go head to head with someone that literally makes fun of people for a living?
What are you doing? What are you thinking?
That's like me bringing a basketball and be like, yo, LeBron, 1-on-1, dog.
Who
do you think's going to win?
Why are you even doing it? Well, some people want to be tortured because that's their love language is torture.
Maybe some. You don't think anyone that heckles at your shows, Jesse, that is like, yeah, I got this chick. I'm sure there is. I'm sure if I took a toll outside when they're leaving and I did, what was your confidence level from 0 of jumping off a cliff to 10 being Conor McGregor? Where are you at? I guarantee the person that heckled is probably up there. You have to be, or else you hate yourself.
I think from what I've experienced, it's more people wanting attention than them feeling confident. It's actually the opposite, where they feel like a lack of confidence, and so they project to get some attention. And it's an interesting thing because I'm conversational on stage, and sometimes I'll include the audience, but I have a way of corralling it and having a give and take and a control over it. And once in a while there'll be women who just yell shit out, and once in a while men. This is not me hating on women. This is just
great.
Yeah.
You're like, great. Here we go.
One guy was like, show me your tits. I'm like, you first, fatty. Like, don't come at me.
Shit. That's what I'm saying. They have no chance. People are funny, man.
No, they don't. But I come from love, and I come from like wanting people to have a good time, and also being able to sort of psychoanalyze somebody in a few seconds, because that's what I've done my whole life. And it's an interesting thing where you see this person making all this noise and you just sort of come at it from an angle that they weren't expecting, because they wanted to fight, but they got some love. And then they're like, oh, damn. I'm like, all right, now everybody, we need to hug her. We need to cut off her alcohol and we need to hug her.
Yes.
No more margaritas for you.
Oh, man. Yeah. You think you could teach that on the fly? Like, boom.
Teach what?
Fatty, let me see your tits. You know what I mean? Do you think you could teach that, like, improv to someone that's not naturally smooth? You know what I'm saying?
After a few years of experience, I think, and getting comfortable in different scenarios, for sure. I think it's being in the most uncomfortable situations is the best way to learn how to be comfortable when those uncomfortable situations arise down the road. And knowing that, someone said this to me years ago. It's such a great quote that was said to them. You're never as good as your best set and you're never as bad as your worst. So you sort of have this level-headed approach to what you're doing, where the worst doesn't define you and neither does your best. And it's about that consistency, and it's about showing up and doing it and staying in the pocket without sweating. So it's interesting. It takes a long time.
Could you imagine, like, someone you have a set and you're excited, you're also nervous, but you're like, man, this is going to be a great set. I got my jokes lined up. Here we go. And here, give it up for Justin Caviar, and fucking, yeah, Caviar, tell us some jokes. And I'm going, and then someone comes up and then they're beating you. It's like, oh, you just melt.
You do. There's been times, for sure. Every comedian bombs. I saw Seinfeld bomb for like 40 minutes.
Well, not just bomb, though. The heckler beats you. Like, maybe you're a young comic and you're not that experienced.
That happened that night.
Ooh.
It happened that night with him. He was at the Gotham and working on new stuff, which, you know, comedians have to do it in front of an audience. It's the only way that you can do it. And he's obviously one of the most decorated, successful comedians of our time, and probably will go down as one of the most successful comedians to ever live. He was working on some jokes. He did a drop in, and normally on like a weekend, you're going to have a host, you're going to have a feature and the headliner. And that's like an hour and a half show. And sometimes you'll have drop-ins from other comedians, depending on if they're famous enough to be able to do that. And they'll do a 15-minute set. Well, Jerry's up there for about 40, eating his dick. And he says at one point shout out to eating dick. If you're a vegetarian, I'm sure they have the Impossible Dick Burger. You just have to look it up.
The Impossible Dick. Some have referred to Justin Caviar as the Impossible Dick.
It's my memoir title. He's up there for about 40 minutes, and I'm there as an audience member because I brought two of my friends. And Jerry, after 40 minutes of not getting anything from this audience, goes, "Who do I have to be to make you laugh?" And the guy sitting with me goes, "The next comedian."
Ooh.
And everybody laughed. And it was the first time they laughed pretty much that hard since Jerry was on stage. And it was an interesting thing to see, because you don't see that often with legends like that. And I shrunk because I was with somebody who heckled him.
Oh God, Jesse, see, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, man. Was it another comic?
It was somebody who I didn't really know. It was just I was bartending at the time.
It was a first date.
And
it was a first date. Gotcha.
No, it was just these couple guys that were like regulars that had paid my rent for years, and I was like, let's go see some stand up. It was like a gift I was giving back to a couple of these guys that were just kind and generous to me. And after they heckled Jerry, I just sort of snaked out of the chair and I Homer Simpsoned into a bush. I was like, I'm not a part of this. I do not condone this behavior, but they're not wrong, but I'm going to back away.
Oh, man.
It was very interesting to see that and experience that and feel it.
I feel like his comedy doesn't work as hard in New York, because he's not like an aggressive like Joey Diaz comedian, right? Because like my family's from New York, and my dad's New York, and he's not laughing unless it's some crazy fucked up shit. So I feel like a typical New Yorker's not laughing as much nowadays with like the Seinfeld type of material, because his is very like quirky, kind of softer comedy, if that makes sense. Not like the Joey Diaz like ram it down your throat, which I feel a lot of, and especially comics, like I'm assuming that because comics are so funny, you have to say some fucked up shit to make them laugh. And that's kind of how like everyone in my family from New York is in Jersey. Like you can't do like what's the chunky guy's name? Chubby or Fluffy?
Fluffy.
Yeah. You can't do the Fluffy act with my dad. He'll be like, turn the shit off. This is like boring as hell, right? But if Joey Diaz gets on stage, he's dying laughing because he loves that hardcore like New York style. So I feel like a guy like Jerry, even though he came up in New York, I feel like that stuff doesn't work as hard now.
It's interesting. I think it still does. I see what you're saying.
Like, are you
I just
laughing
have to.
as much? Like, are you dying laughing from Seinfeld or compared to like Diaz?
Well, I think it's about seeing yourself in the person who's on stage, and that's what makes comedy and any sort of art so great. Is there's so much out there that there's someone for you, and Jerry's just not for you, and he's not for your dad, but you can't deny that he found and did something that worked for millions of people. And it's not comedy it's not comedy that I identify with, but I look at comedy as a spectrum of like Seinfeld on one end and Richard Pryor on the other end. I always say that that's sort of like the spectrum of comedy, and everyone else lies somewhere in between that, where Jerry is this individual who learned how to be funny, and Richard Pryor is this individual who was just funny. And so Jerry learned the technical aspect of comedy, the joke writing, the very clean joke writing. There's not an ounce of fat. He doesn't say any ahs, ums, ohs, buts. There's everything in his jokes matter, and it's very technical. He is like the golfer. He's basically the Tiger Woods of comedy, if you think about how technical he is. But then you look at someone like Richard Pryor, there's no rhyme or reason. That motherfucker set his face on fire. Like, he's blood, sweat, and tears. So there's the mathematical aspect of it and then the blood, sweat, and tears of it. But in between that, there's going to be somebody you identify with. It doesn't mean they're not funny. It just means that you don't identify with it. You know, there's this great quote by Tina Fey that she said, just because you decide you don't like something doesn't mean it's empirically not good. And that's the great thing about comedy, is you can find somebody. I don't identify with Jerry. It's not something that makes me laugh, but I don't deny that it's something that other people enjoy. I'm a Richard Pryor girl. I like someone who's loud and someone who's bleeding up there and telling me why they are dysfunctional. I don't want to know where my sock went. I don't care where my other sock went. I don't give a fuck. I'll buy a new pair of socks, Jer, you know?
Exactly. I know he's funny, obviously, because he's one of the best ever and incredibly rich for doing comedy. I'm just saying, nowadays with New Yorkers, you know, like I don't know too many New Yorkers are like would watch him over someone like Carlin or you know, Richard Pryor. You know, but you know, you can say that about a lot of comics that are very clean and technical. But man, clean is hard. I'm not saying it's not easy whichever way you turn it, but being a clean comic, man, that's a lot harder than being a dirty comic.
I mean, I think the difficulty lies in how authentic it is. I don't think it's the clean or the dirty. I think it's the authenticity of it all. If I were trying to be squeaky clean, I don't know that it would come off authentic, because that's not who I am as a person in life. So it would be a real act. And it's not saying that I couldn't do it. If I had some level of psychopathy, I'm sure I could pull it off and be like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But I think it's about authenticity.
Your next special.
Imagine Richard Pryor being squeaky clean. I don't know if it would work, because it never happened, because that's not who he was. And imagine Jerry Seinfeld saying, fuck this, fuck that. It might be great. We don't know.
Maybe.
But I think it's more about authenticity than it is cleanliness or dirtiness. And I've come across this many times in my career where I've been told I need to be cleaner. I need to be a cleaner comic. And I would always say, what does that mean? Clean according to what? Your ancient puritanical Christian viewpoints, or cleaner meaning you don't want me to talk about my female problems? Like I need clarity on this, because I think the cleanliness of it is irrelevant to the authenticity of it. And that's with anything in life. Mm-hmm. I think people get stuck on ways to do things and how they should live, and I should do this and I should do that based on some arbitrary system that doesn't exist. There are no fucking rules. The only rule is to be authentic, in my mind. That's how 100%. I approach everything.
100%.
No more placating, no more. It's it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you at all in your career or in life to placate for someone else's acceptance of you.
Yeah. Oh, she's really hot. And do what you got to do.
But that's live your life, live your truth. And you know that about yourself. And that's why I like you in your purple shirt.
So I got the purple shirt, I got the purple background, I got the purple
color.
cash. Shout out to 3Ds, Buff Bunny and Christian Guzman.
It's actually a really good color for you, that lilac.
Thanks.
Good choice.
Thanks.
Bold choice.
I was going for a skinny grimace.
I like it.
Yeah. Tell people about how you got into comedy. I feel like comedy is like a winding road on a motorcycle with your helmet on backwards.
It kind of is.
What's your story?
I think I just always entertained my sister as a kid. My house was a little tumultuous. My parents argued a lot. And I think I discovered being funny was a way to subdue the chaos in the household and to also anchor my sister in a way and away from it all. And it was a way for her and I to communicate because she was 4 years older than me. And there was a communication barrier. And, a lot was lost in translation because she was so much older. Not that 4 years is a lot, but it's, it definitely can be a little bit of a connection issue there. So it was just the way for me to really keep the household cool and to connect with my sister. And I just kept doing it. I left my house when I was like 18 and moved to Boston and did improv for a couple years. And during that time, someone I was working with who was in the improv group, when we were actually down in the stock room of H&M where we worked together, I was just busting his balls. Yeah. It's where a lot of fornicating and dead rats are.
Oh yeah. Shout out to rats.
I made some joke. And he goes, "You really need to get into stand-up." And I, from that day forward, did it. I was 18 or 19 and I haven't looked back since. That's all I've thought that I could do. That's all I thought I was meant to do. And just kept going for it. I left Boston and did New York and, chopped my teeth in the streets of New York and then moved to LA. And now I'm out in LA, dodging meth zombie homeless people every day. And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't move back.
That's my trajectory to comedy. from my sister to meth heads.
Yeah. Shout out to meth and get a lot done on it. I'm surprised you didn't go back to New York.
When?
Now. LA.
No, LA's still okay. I mean, every area has.
But
its
you're
own
a real
issues.
chick, though, right? Come on, let's be real. Can we be real for a second?
Yeah, I think I've kept it real this whole time. What do you want to know?
Right. Let's be real. Come on, Jesse.
What?
Let's be real.
LA. Be real about what? I know I'm really serious.
I need you to be real.
Okay. What's your question?
Okay. I'm just messing with you.
I'm like, tell me what you want me to be real about. I'll fucking keep it real with you.
All right, we'll be real when it's real. But you're an intellectual chick. You're funny. You're awesome. You're pretty. Like, you have everything that is like a genuine person. But LA, come on. LA's a little, I lived in LA. I guess what I'm trying to say is, how can you deal with it? How can you deal with the people there? And I know there is good people because I lived in LA for a couple of years and I did find some good people. But man, just the culture of the city is just like, everyone's out for themselves. Like in New York, someone will be a dick to you in your face, like, no, go fuck yourself. Or they'll say, oh, what the fuck? They might seem like an asshole, but I always tell people I'd rather be a good person than a nice person. And in LA, people are nice, but not necessarily that good, right? Like getting someone to pick you up from the airport in LA is like really difficult. I remember I called 4 people and the only person that picked me up was a girl that I was talking to off of Bumble. Shout out to Bumble. New York, I can literally, the first person I call, they're out there. 4 people are showing up, and even in Tampa the same way. If I need someone to pick me up, they're there. If, I hate when people cancel plans. I hate when shit doesn't go the right way. I'm a very technical, I like lists. I like action. I'm a high action on my person. Yeah. Action and results. So the LA thing, man, it would just drive me nuts. That shit you would have a plan and then it would go this way and then it'd go that way and then it'd go backwards and forwards. Like I kept my circle very small because I couldn't deal with the LA type of people. So I'm just surprised that you're still there because you're not like.
Well, that. I think it goes back to what you said before. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most, and it's about keeping your circle small. And you can do that in any environment. And LA has a different type of person for sure, and so does New York. And we're saying those cities because these are larger cities, these are coastal cities. You can't compare it to something inland and in the middle of the country, because their access to the world from just a geography standpoint is completely different. I truly believe there's a level of sophistication and worldliness that the extremity of our country has that the inside of the country doesn't have. In the same breath, you can also say there's a wholesomeness and a family orientation that exists inside our country that doesn't necessarily have as much of a commonplace on the exteriors. But when it comes to LA, I definitely have a love-hate relationship. I had a love-hate relationship with New York. New York was a constant grind. People were assholes all the time. Everyone had a stick up their butt. There was always a fight and tension, and everything's gray and there's concrete everywhere, and you're bumping into people, and it literally feels like you're in a factory, but it's beautiful, and there's culture everywhere, and amazing restaurants and art and all of these just different corners you turn, and there's a surprise on each corner that you literally every day could find something new in New York. But you live there a whole lifetime and eat at different restaurants, and it's just an amazing place to live. LA is this sprawling existence, and you have to have a car. So there's an isolation factor that really changes the fabric of society. It really changes people's connectivity and interconnectivity and how they build community. So people are a little bit more susceptible to be selfish because they're spending so much time with themselves that they feel untrusting because they aren't out in the world as much as people in New York are. So it really, I do equate a city's heartbeat to two things, to the transportation and to the weather. New York, you can get anywhere at any time, and it's cold half of the year. Those two things create a different type of person who comes from a city where you have to drive everywhere and it's fucking 70 and sunny every day. The idea of struggle there is so different on those two coasts that it creates a different type of person. I don't think either one is worse or less whatever. It is a totally different existence. I could never live in New York again.
Yeah,
I could never live in New York again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also like where you're at in life and your maturity level and all of that. I have a very tight circle out here. I roll with the real ones, and I don't make new friends very easily unless it's Brad Pitt. Hello, how you doing? It's okay. You're sober. I smoke every day. We'll make it work. Make sure Angelina doesn't stalk me. But
Brad, he's getting older. He's getting older. Just saying.
I know. I need an older man. These 33-year-olds out here don't know what the fuck they want. Come on.
Yeah.
I got to get a 50-year-old with a yacht. And Brad Pitt, there's a photo of him in my bathroom. I'm not bragging, but I am.
Jesus. Damn, the 30-year-olds in
amino
LA.
acids.
Yeah, oh my God. I don't even want to get into that. But I can't even imagine dating in LA. Oh my God.
It's impossible. I'm here to report the weather dating report. It's fucking impossible.
Are you only dating people in the industry though? Because you do have somewhat of a name, and you're very big in comedy. Do you find it hard, like meeting just like a dude at Barnes and Nobles and at the Grove? Like,
I wish I could meet somebody at Barnes and Nobles in the Grove. It sounds great. I think, literally, It's so funny. I was having this conversation with my cousin, and we were like, isn't it funny how where the person lives dictates if you could date them regardless of how compatible you are? It's like I live on the West Side, and if somebody's living in the Valley, I'm like, ooh, I don't see this working out ever, because there's no way I'm ever going to come see you. Meanwhile, I was dating somebody who lived in Scotland. So it's really just, it's about what you're willing to put up with. Oh my gosh.
Scotland,
I get the
man.
LA hate. It's something. Listen, it's something out here.
I'm just a real dude, man. I like real people. That LA fake shit doesn't roll well.
There's fake people everywhere, but it's a matter of there just being
100%.
11 million people out here. Yeah, there's more people who live here, so there's going to be more fake people. Absolutely.
Yeah, but even like I know Florida doesn't have the best, reputation, but even in Florida, like it's hot here, it's sunny, it barely rains, but actually it's kind of too hot. So you have to suffer the other way. You have to suffer because you go outside in a suit and within 30 seconds you're sweating your balls off, you know. And I used to date a girl in Boston, and I would go up there, and I remember I looked like a complete psychopath. I didn't own a jacket. Like I still don't own a jacket. And I went out with like, because all I wear is dress clothes, a suit, or a golf outfit. That's it, without the hat, because I'm not trying to mess with this hair. You know what I'm saying, dog? But with the shirt, like literally, like watch the PGA Tour. Come on, shout out to hairlines. But but that's what I like. That's how I like to dress like that. And so I was wearing basically like a golf outfit with my khaki long khaki pants, my Travis Matthew pants, and my Nike shirt. And people were wearing these fucking Eskimo jackets, and they looked at me like I must have got out of the psych ward, because I just went up there to visit her. I would stay up there for like a week or two, and then come back down to Florida. But there is something weird about that cold. You get out in the cold, you're freezing your ass off, and you're fucking. And then
you're like,
get back,
why do people live here?
But you're happy though. But it's like a weird thing. Maybe I'm just a psycho. But when you get back inside the house, it's like a good feeling. And then you're drinking.
It is a good feeling.
Pumpkin spice lattes. I'm not afraid to admit it. You're drinking pumpkin spice lattes. You're watching Hocus Pocus, shoving fucking candy corn down.
Movies.
Yeah, shoving candy corn down your esophagus. So that's what I like to do, right? I love shoving candy corn down my esophagus and drinking pumpkin spice lattes.
Come on, you're speaking my love language.
Yeah. But here's the same thing, but the opposite. It's just too hot. So like you go out and you're in a fucking sauna, and then you come inside and you're like, oh, thank God for AC. But it's still that like hard. It's still just as hard. I like the cold. I hate the heat. So I favor the cold more. But if you don't like to sweat, then Tampa and anywhere in Florida can be rough, especially the more south you go.
Oh, it's hard for the lady bits out there. I mean, you get your own personal swamp.
Tampa's not bad.
You're like, oh, okay. I got a swamp.
Anyone that's listening to this,
I've been to Tampa. Listen, I've been to Tampa.
If you're a dude, no flat asses. No flat asses. Just saying. You like ass? Come to Tampa. You don't like ass? Go to Oregon.
You should be a mayor with that. That should be your campaign.
I would get canceled in 35 seconds. I'd be like a Better Call Saul mayor. Just be like, this fucking guy, we gotta get this guy off. Not a bad idea, though.
I love that show. Yeah,
I think our mayor is a chick. She's all right. She's cool. She's running shit.
Chick.
Yeah, she's running shit. Shout out to chick mayors.
Shout out to chick mayors. Mayors, he says. I am dead.
Dude, she runs the city better than any guy could. Oh my God. Like the old mayor we had here, he had his thumb up his ass. Now this chick mayor is crushing it. Like all the construction's getting done. Everything's getting done. I was like, man.
She's got a checklist. She's got a checklist. She's
well, typically women in general, like especially in businesses, like, me having businesses, like guys are great in a way that they can get through shit. Like you can tell them, dude, what are you, fucking idiot? Like, come on, get your shit together. And they're like, all right, dude, sorry, bro. And they'll get cursed out on the phone, and then they'll be fine because they're used to that. They're used to getting turned down by chicks. I actually used to recruit guys at bars that would go up to every chick under the sun and get turned down. I would hire them as sales guys because I was like, oh, you can take rejection. And I was like, this is what you need to be successful in sales. So that's like a really good thing about hiring men. But you hire a room full of dudes, there's paper everywhere, the door is open, everything's fucked up. Women, it's all organized, everything's on time, emails are sent, like it's all structured, everything's clean, everything smells good. So to be honest, I think females are better workers and better mayors than men traditionally, right? Obviously there's going to be some shitty females.
Yeah, most of the girls I know were good at multitasking. We have to because
structure.
We give birth to the babies. We have to, and through evolution, we've had to protect ourselves and our young. So we're always having our head on a swivel, checking 100 things while trying to survive.
Women, when it comes to, I'm a big guy on structure. When it comes to structure, like forget about it. My guys, like I'll never give a guy be like, okay, plan dinner tonight, bro. Forget about it. That shit, like one person would come.
We have 4 options.
Yeah.
Each at a different time. I've made reservations, and I also called ahead because I know that you're having like a lactose issue. So.
Yeah. You know how many times a guy will respond, "Hey, what time is that party?" Or "What time is this? What time is that?" Bro, Google it. Just look up the name and type it in Google. Why are you asking
Look above
me?
in the text. Look
Oh
look
my
up.
God.
Did you just scroll up to the text where I told you where it was?
Jesus Christ.
Add that shit
Yeah.
into your calendar. Yes, women are magical.
Women are
Thank
better.
you for
Women are
acknowledging
better.
it.
For that, for sure. Yeah. It could be a little drama, whatever. But so are guys. I know a lot of beta males, man.
Let me tell you, the drama does not stop with the females. I have had my dose of drama. I'm literally writing a book right now about all the men in my life, and there's been a lot of drama
Like
from your end as well. Yeah, men. Men. Whatever the fuck that means. Yes, men.
Yeah. I mean, like men you're like talking to, or just men in general that you're friends with. Because I think
I'm writing. It's all about men. It's about like my dad, uncles, friends, but also men I've dated, and the drama.
What's the worst part?
On both sides. Worst part of what?
What part is drama, though? I'm just curious.
Dating in general, and you guys are sometimes inconsistent. You don't know what you want. You're afraid of a lot of you afraid of commitment, and we understand, like from a physiological standpoint, it makes sense. You guys send mixed messages. You say one thing and do another, and often you call us crazy bitches. Well, you guys are inconsistent fucks. So sort of,
No, for sure. I think it depends on the person.
Itself.
It depends on the person, because I'm the one that's yelling at my friends for doing that. I hate when shit is like planned and it doesn't go the right way and being inconsistent, for sure. But I definitely think it does depend. But I mean, at the same time, girls are the first one that once they stop having feelings for you, they'll cut you off so fast and they don't give a fuck about your feelings.
Oh, I know, so blocked by. I've deleted and blocked so many people. It's the healthiest thing you can do is just to block and delete. What do we need to say? There's nothing we need to say. We're good. You've said it all by not saying it and by not committing. We're fucking good. I think the next time we record, we should do he said, she said episode.
Let's do
where
it.
You tell me your issues with women and I'll tell you my issues with men. We should ask for questions, ask people like dating questions. And the next time we record, it's all about what's wrong with men and women from our standpoint. Because it sounds like you and I have a lot to say.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm very straight to the point. I'm like a renegade. So I never really have that issue with women. They know my intentions from day one. And I hate that wishy-washy shit. I hate drama.
The wishy-washy.
I hate drama. Wishy-washy. Fuck. Yeah. Not a shout out to wishy-washy.
No shout outs to wishy-washy fucks.
Listen, you're awesome. I feel like we just talked about random
shit
for an hour.
You're awesome too. I could talk to you for another 3 days.
I know.
This is awesome.
I could talk to you forever. You seem like well, you don't seem, you are. I'm looking at you right now in your fucking face. And you're definitely a person that I could totally like be friends with forever. So
in your fucking face. Well, when I come to Tampa, me and Dave will hang out when I do a show.
Oh no, we're buying you fucking dinner. We're going to Eddie V's.
We're all gonna go out.
We're getting a squad. We're getting a squad and we're going to Eddie V's, and someone's getting filet, and it's not me.
I love filet. God bless us. God bless
exactly.
Us.
No, you're awesome.
I'll look into that.
I really think there's very few people on this earth that I look forward to talking to, and you were one that I looked forward to talking to. So,
thank you. I appreciate that, Justin. Yeah. Me too.
No, you're awesome, and you're not only are you funny as shit, but you're also like very intelligent. And I find a lot of actually female comedians, just not even female comedians in general, are actually really, really smart. But they play the comical clown role. They're actually it's very intellectual pursuit of crafting jokes. We'll talk about that next time, but. Anyways, I can talk to you for days. I think you're awesome. So, how do people reach out to you, watch your stuff? Send you money, what's your OnlyFans link?
You guys can cash at me. You can check out my Sharp Tongue podcast. You can hit me up on social media. It's at Jessimae Peluso, Jessimae.com for tickets to come see me live. And I'll be on tour this fall. I'll be in Chicago, New York, Connecticut, all East Coast dates, all that's going to be up. I'll be in Vermont. Not Tampa, maybe. I'll see what.
Oh my God.
There's some more dates being added. Arizona, there's a lot of states. I don't even know if I hit Florida. We were supposed to hit Florida, but I had to do filming, so we had to cancel it. But I will
Florida's
be out in
the
Florida
easiest state to
point.
get to. It's the easiest state.
It truly is.
Where's the fucking Wild Wild West over here? But
Especially after
south.
I snap it off from the country.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here, folks. From Jesse to Justin, Justin to Jesse. This is the Justin Caviar Show, and we're out. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.